Right, jumping straight in. Firstly, I've got to apologise. In a couple of minutes, you'll realise that I actually forgot I was recording this one and clicked a load of links of other stuff I was working on. Quickly remembered and corrected. So we jumped right in here, turn 4. I've just lost my Colligan Storm Singer to a defeat. Other than that, we've pretty much just been dropping lands, and he's dropped a Spider Silk Net. Quite a happy hand. Dragon Tempest, which I'm about to drop. Sarkhan's Triumph, Ataka's back in my hand, couple of creatures. Really do like Dragon Tempest. Not necessarily in... There we go, there's all the links I started clicking. So Dragon Tempest, not massively in constructed, but in draft, if you've gone one like I had, and into a nice big dragon build, I think it can be quite powerful. Or very powerful if someone tries to steal your creatures in their turn. So we've gone for a hard cast Alesha's Vanguard from him, passing on to myself. He's going to have nothing to do this turn. And I pull out the Crater Elemental as my draw. I quite like this card. It's, again, not necessarily in constructed, but in draft limited formats, it can be pretty good. Worst case scenario, it's 4 cost for a 4, removal. It's a good blocker. It's not too bad. If you can hit Formidable, it can become a real thing they've got to find an answer to. His Formidable trigger being that if he pays 1 red and 2, he gets a base attack of 8. So he becomes an 8/6. So pretty good. I mean, if you can get it, it's certainly not nothing to build the deck around, but it popped up as a rare. It was a creature, a blocker, and removal all rolled into one. It's hard to turn down. So he's gone to his turn. Again, fair bit of hesitation, and we see 3 tap down for a Dutiful Attendant. This is actually a card that got away from me. Actually, I on a Friday Night Magic, I tend to run a Orzhov Warrior deck at the moment, which is doing particularly well. And it wasn't until this draft that I'd actually seen this card at all, completely, which is why you see me looking at it now, rocking in my world, as it were. I had totally missed this card. Whether it'll make it into my Warrior deck, I don't know, but I'm certainly going to look into it a little bit more. Didn't even realise it was there. So he declares no attackers, he's got no answer for the Crater Elemental, and I top deck a land, which I was kind of looking for, kind of liking. This allows me to drop my bigger creature, my better creature, the Battlefront Crew Shock. Obviously I do have the ability with the Morph and the Mega Morph to drop some counters around, and the ability to have it so that anything with a counter can only be blocked by one creature could become very powerful in my deck. So obviously no point attacking with the 0/6, so I'll pass the turn. And we wait for his play. Slight concern I've got here is obviously he's now sitting on 5 cards in hand. I've got 3. I'm rapidly approaching that top deck moment no one really likes, especially not in draft. You see him tap down 3. And what do we see? Oh no, he changed his mind. So we see a 2, which is where the Spider Silk Net drops onto the Alesha's Vanguard. So he's obviously seen the Dragon Tempest. He knows that if I do pull a dragon, it's going to be coming in with haste. So he's dropped the Spider Silk Net to try and give some of his ground-based creatures the ability to get up in the air and block my stuff. Playing around with his mana base, in a 2-colour deck, you don't ever want to tap what you've only got 1 of, unless you absolutely have to, certainly not for colourless. Again, it's given him reach at a bigger back end, but not actually made him big enough to get through any of my creatures. He goes to attacks, swings through, which I don't really have a problem with. looking to drop my Crater Elemental in front of it, at which point he hesitates, draws it back, and passes the turn. So, a bit of a killer for me this turn. Draw another dragon, but still not quite the mana to use any of it. So I pretty much just skip the attack phase. I know we'll just bounce if we do, and I end up tapped down and pass the turn to him. The fortunate thing I know I've got is I know I've got my Sarkhan's Triumph in hand. So while I'm sitting on a load of dragons, it is going to thin my deck. It's going to allow me to go and get that one extra card out of the deck. That's exactly what I do now. No real choices. It's got to be one of my 2 Stormwind dragons. Thins the deck out a little bit before I go to the draw step, and I hit the land. So, a little bit of hesitation here. Do I go to the Shockmaw, which will come out and have haste? Or do I go try and play around with the Stormwind Dragon, not morphing it? And then you see, no, a hasted dragon is a better dragon. He has no responses. Although it does take a while to decide. He's probably seeing what exactly I'm going to be doing with the Dragon Tempest. So obviously the Shockmaw Dragon, whenever he comes into field, he does one play from the Dragon Tempest. Whenever a dragon creature enters the field, it gains haste. And whenever dragons enter the field, they do X damage to a target creature, where X is the number of dragons I control. So obviously at this point it's 1, and I elect to do the 1 damage to the Alesha's Vanguard. Obvious reason being he's given that creature haste, reach, and I'm about to give mine haste. So when I swing in with my hasted creature, I want him to lose the blocker if he declares it. Now before this, I was looking at a way to remove the Dutiful Attendant while he had no creatures in his graveyard, to remove the value on the Attendant, but at this point it seemed obvious that I was going to be able to do very little about that, and try and bait him into a double block, just in case he is unfamiliar. You never know. And if he'd blocked, obviously there'd be no creature at the time the Attendant would die. He wouldn't be able to get anything back. He declares the blockers. Obviously, thinking about it, knowing he's going to lose the Vanguard if he does, but gathering it's worth the while. A little bit of worry from myself here, as he casts Team of Battle Rage, because he's got the without the Ferocious trigger. Not that massively matters, but he's going to give it double strike. This will allow him to remove the dragon as well as lose his own. So he wants a trade. I'm fine with this. I know I'm sitting on another 2 dragons. A land drop's going to mean I'm going to get a Dragonlord Dromoka out. Or Stormwing if I don't. It goes to his turn. And we see 4 mana tapped down for a Lose Calm. At this point, I'm so very glad I'm not about to have that happen to my Ataka. However, he does make most use of it by stealing it, sacrificing it, and using it to remove my other creature. Unfortunately, that leaves him with just the Attendant. He's going to swing in for the 1 point of damage and pass to my turn. Don't see a land drop, so no Ataka this turn, but I do see the Stormwing. Contemplate casting it face down. Think about it. And I do indeed. Go for a face down casting. And try and regather that board presence. Now at this point I'm remembering that in the first game he had that Keeper of the Lens. So he's not completely in the dark as he would have been before. He knows what some of my wolf creatures are. He's seen the Stormsinger. He knows that's gone. Doesn't know whether I've got more. He knows the other ones are likely to be dragons. Pass the turn to him. And you can see the game's real tense now. No one wants to make a hasty decision that costs them, especially me. I lose this one and I'm done. Just double checking that there's nothing I can do. And we see a Colligan's command. Choosing the target player discards a card and it does 2 damage to target player. I figure if I'm going to lose, I'm going to get the value. Quickly realise I did it wrong and I was about to kill my own creature. Just quick cancel. Choose the right player. If I'm going to lose the creature, I'm going to get the 3 points of damage in on him as quick as possible. Going to go to discard. Obviously I'm not insane, I'm not going to choose to discard Ataka. Lose the Frontier Mastodon, and fingers crossed I'm about to see a land. So he goes to attack steps, he hits me for that 1 again. Not the worst thing in the world. I'm on an 18 turn clock, I'm not worried. And there's the land. Now, I record my audio secondarily, which is very fortunate because at this point, what you're about to see did involve several minutes of foul language. Well, it certainly would have upset a lot of people that heard it, and you'll see why shortly. So I'm just putting all the triggers onto the stack. I know I'm going to kill the Attendant. There's not a lot I can do about that. He's going to get a creature back, but I'm going to be left with a much better one than himself. Just playing around, seeing whether I could find a way to not assign the damage. It's not actually possible. Got to put it somewhere. Got to put it on the Attendant and give him his creature back. Make my peace with that decision. Kill it. Seal the triggers. Speed for it all. And actually overclick and forget to declare the attack on my hasted Ataka. At this point, the expletives game, missing my 8 points of damage. You can imagine what that's like. One game down. Couldn't believe I forgot to get. Got to point out to him that I've missed the haste. And insult myself in the process, and just hope he doesn't find an answer to the monster that is Ataka. Now I know that he's used his Lose Calm, which he's probably regretting at this point. I didn't recall seeing a second one floating around, but doesn't mean there isn't one there. Goes to his turn, and he's waiting, and I'm worrying. The pressure would have been that much more immense if I'd swung with that 8. And he's sitting there on 5. And to my relief, he brings out a Gore Swine. Absolutely fine. I don't know whether this is a misplay on his or whether he was thinking of something else, but personally I probably would have dropped the Spider Silk Net on it. Ataka's a beast. If you can do anything to stop her from putting as much damage in, you know, it's definitely worth it, especially since this costs him the game. Top decking Sarkhan's Rage, casting it for 5. He can't put the net on it. And I swing for 8 from Ataka, winning me the game. So we go to game 3. Seen quite a lot of one another's decks, and we move forward.